What's up, Chooms, and welcome back to the Courthouse. And today we're going to be talking about censorship. No, not the censorship that is currently occurring on a popular social media app that was recently purchased by the United States, but censorship of cartoon titties. Yeah, it's the year 2026 and there are still arguments, legal battles, and mass outrage about our right to see fictional characters partake in full frontal or rear, rear nudity. And this time, the most recent victim of the attention that comes with this is 2025's interactive narrative adventure indie darling, Dispatch. Quick summary on Dispatch for people who don't know what it is but keep seeing this blonde woman censored areola all over their timeline. Dispatch is a choose your own adventure title with a workplace comedy aesthetic. You play as a depressed, dejected, and financially depleted superhero who is voiced by that guy who sold meth one time on that other show. And his job is to work as a dispatcher for a ragtag group of former villains who are now trying to be superheroes. And while doing this, he's trying to save enough money so that he can fix his superhero gear and get back out into the real world and save lives. Dispatch is known for its fantastic characters, gorgeous animation, the exhilarating Dispatch minigame, which they need to just make a standalone version of, phenomenal voice performances, and a great story. And it's also on the more adult side of things humor-wise. There's a plethora of cock and ball jokes, several scenes depicting nudity, whether it's used to explore romance or just a dumb joke about punching some guy in the dick.
Sorry, boy.
He's only busting dead!
You wash your hands after touching all them filthy nutsacks?
Thought he seemed salty.
You sicken me.
Some could say that the content is pretty risque, raunchy, sexy, adult. I hate all the words we use to talk about adult stuff with sex in it. It all feels like it's meant to sound taboo-ish, you know? Not saying that that's what those words mean, but sometimes it just feels like we talk about adult stuff like we shouldn't be talking about it. And I think that's more indicative of a society that needs to grow the hell up and stop being afraid of people's bodies. Now, the reason that this game has come under fire is because after a successful launch of the game, the developers over at Ad Hoc Studio found themselves an opportunity to have their game ported over to Nintendo's newest console, the Switch 2. But for that port to be possible, some things about Dispatch had to be modified, altered, or in this case, have a giant black bar covering any and everything that could prevent it from being put on Nintendo's hardware. In other words, they censored the game. And a lot of people are very angry at this. I've seen posts of people refunding their Switch 2 copies of the game en masse. Self-proclaimed fans of the two-time award-winning title Dispatch were so quick to hop online and tell the devs off over at Ad Hoc, calling them everything under the sun except a child of God. Specifically because of this version of the game, which to me seems like loser behavior. And if that statement rubs you the wrong way, ask yourself this question. Why would a studio that made a title that is as beloved as Dispatch, a game that sold, I'm pretty sure, over 3 million units, want to give certain players a version of the game in which their artistic vision and creative choices have been diluted? Why would they want to do that? Ask any creative you know. Ask anyone you know who makes a thing how they would feel if they had to censor their creation just so it could be available in a specific market. The issue is not going to lie with the creative. It's going to lie in the market and those guidelines for how that market operates. And I would hope that a lot of people have the right amount of functioning brain cells so they can connect two and two together. But then again, this discourse took place over Twitter. So with that knowledge and that perspective, that means we have to look at Nintendo. And funny enough, because at the time of posting this, Nintendo actually put out a statement that reads, Nintendo requires all games on its platform to receive ratings from independent organizations and to meet our established content and platform guidelines. While we inform partners when their titles don't meet our guidelines, Nintendo does not make changes to partner content. We also do not discuss specific content or the criteria used in making these determinations. Meaning that the guidelines for the game to be available on Nintendo's hardware are set by Nintendo, and studios have to abide by that and make changes themselves so they can get past those guidelines. Once again, Nintendo just said they do not discuss specific content or the criteria used in making these determinations. Hopefully the studios know, because if not, that means they just have to guess what the fuck is stopping their game from being put on Nintendo platforms. And so for Ad Hoc with Dispatch, a game as handcrafted as this, they had two options. Either create another version of the game exclusively for Nintendo Switch, exclusively for Japan, that falls under all those rules and guidelines, or take the cheaper and more possible route, which is censoring the game. Now, I don't know how much Ad Hoc made with Dispatch. I'm not a pocket watcher, but they sold a lot. They sold a lot of units, okay? And I'm unsure if that money is enough to cover reanimating the game, rehiring voice talent, redoing the music, doing all those things, getting all those kind of copyright things, all that stuff. I don't know the business part of making games at all, so I will shut the hell up about that. But it seems like a big task to make that happen. And the censorship for Japan's version of Dispatch makes a bit of sense when you think about like Japanese porn, for example. we're talking about censorship. Grow up, get comfortable. But, in Japanese porn, they still censor the private parts of their actors and actresses. So it's safe to say they view bodies a bit differently over there. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but when they have their own way of displaying nudity in an industry whose main selling point is the nudity, I think it makes a bit more sense of how they want things to operate. And if you are against that, then you should be vocal against that and tackle the guidelines and the things upholding those strict rules and regulations rather than people who have to abide by them. Now, fans have also been bringing up that other games that have adult themes, such as Cyberpunk 2077, aren't censored on the Switch too, and are allowed to show full frontal nudity and some over-the-top gore. To that, I'd say one of two things. One, that just means that CD Projekt Red got a better deal so that they can keep the artistic integrity of Cyberpunk 2077 on Switch, which then all the blame falls onto Nintendo because why aren't the guidelines one-to-one? Why are certain things allowed and some things aren't? Or two, number two, and this is what I think is most likely, is that the aesthetic of Dispatch might be what caused this because, let's face it, Dispatch is cartoony, and despite adult animation proving time and time again to be an actual thing, an actual viable place for entertainment and stories to be told, the likelihood of a child playing Dispatch is significantly higher than a child playing Cyberpunk because of the cartoony aesthetic. And because of that, the game is judged more harshly on its content, which then again falls onto Nintendo and maybe the entire world for how we perceive what is to be adult and what isn't. TLDR, stop being weird about cartoons and the stories that cartoons are allowed to tell. Now, I don't believe refunding the game and cursing out the devs is going to get this issue fixed, because how it taking money away from a dev over a choice they didn't really have helped them get the version of the game that they want on another platform. When you could just be challenging the platform. I'd assume they probably tried to do all the editing tricks, maybe pixelating the dicks and nipples, and that still didn't fly, but who knows? That's my thoughts on it, guys. What do you think?